Awesome. So, hello everyone, and thanks for making it on here. I know it is different times in different countries on the continent, and so I am excited to have you all join. It's been amazing the response that we've gotten, over 100 volunteers. It just tells me how this work deeply resonates with a number of people on the continent. However, so far we have only gotten volunteers from 17 countries out of 55 countries. That also tells us that there is still so much work to be done because when we set out to build DPO Africa network, one of the things we said is the Africa in DPO Africa must make sense. So we must have coverage across board. So today, this is the format we're going to be taking. You are very much familiar, I believe, with the three volunteering tracks that we have, which are research and content. We also have the engagement and outreach track. And then we have the third track, which is the event management track. However, to drive action for quarter 2, we have broken things down into 7 work streams. And the 7 work streams are Aspire. When we think about Aspire, Aspire is really targeting those looking or those aspiring to become DPOs. And next we have the Accelerate group. The Accelerate group, the target for these is how can we accelerate practicing DPOs? And so one of the things we will be doing in quarter 2 for the Aspire and the Accelerate group is to really create a survey and send out these surveys, because before we start producing content, we need to be sure that we are very familiar with people's pain point, and so we can start addressing those. Before I go into the rest of the working group, I just want, in the chat, if you're let us know what country you're coming in from, because that is very important to us. Every time we meet, we always want to know what countries are people representing on the call today. So just put that in the chat while we're waiting for more people to trickle in. So far, we have 17 people on the call, which is amazing. So put that on the chat as we continue. And one thing to also mention, while I said we have 7 unique tracks, awesome, from Ghana, Namibia, this is beautiful. While we have, oh yes, Zimbabwe, I expect you to be here. So this is great. While we have 7, oh yes, South Africa, while we have 7 tracks, 5 of those tracks is actually under the research and content, because at the end of the day, research and content is the bread and butter of what we do. It's the core. We're here to empower DPUs, and that will be in research and content. And so we have Aspire, we also have Accelerate. But beyond these two, the popular one everyone expects is the policy review, where we will be taking the policies, and by policies, we're looking at the regulations, right? The data protection regulations across Africa, those that have been established. We will be taking them. I will be providing you with resources on where to download this regulations from. If you're in that working group, all you have to do is to validate that this is the most recent one, because we don't want to be working on outdated data. So that is going to be the policy review. there's going to be a lot happening in the policy review. In fact, my mind is blown away by all that we will do in the policy review group. After that, we have the internal privacy review. The internal privacy review, I always like to say, charity begins at home. So we will have a group of people who will be reviewing documentations for DPO African Network, okay, just the community. But that being said, let's have a group of people that would ask us questions. We generated a survey. The questions we asked: did we meet data minimization standard, purpose limitation? We want people to simulate what it will be to do this in practice, and then we can convene back again, and then they will do the report out. We're not shy from doing these things because we are all on a learning journey, and it will be amazing what insights people find. I know that there are gaps, but I want to see if people will find it. And along the way, I would also guide across the whole stage of doing this. And this is a very important working group, because as we grow, we are hoping and we are anticipating that we'll have, companies reach out to us to say, hey, they're working on a project with the one DPO Africa Network team to be able to review it based on all of our collective knowledge. And so would be relying on this group to do those review. Before I get to the fifth one, I want you to know that volunteers in these tracks have been appointed. So after this group, you'll be getting an email letting you know which of these working groups you belong to. Some of you may be excited, some of you may not be so excited, but listen to me. Everything is all towards achieving a common goal. And secondly, this is just on a quarterly basis. The assignment is for this quarter two, starting in April. So I planned it out for a 10-week sprint. Thirdly, while you will get an email to your primary working group, you're free to join other working groups. But please, please, please let your primary working group be your primary focus. If you have more flexibility, if you're interested in other areas, it's open, you're free to join. So that is what I wanted to share. And it's particularly important. For example, you've got 10 years working experience and you find out that you've been assigned to Aspire. While you might think, oh, I should be in the Accelerate working group, I need you to remember that we need a mix of voice while in that group. So you're playing a unique role to also help you remember your journey and also to influence what we do there. So it is very key, and we will be monitoring all the groups. And it's also very important that active participation. I mean, we had over 100 people volunteer, but we have just 22 on the score, which in my books is great because that's 20%. And typically, if you know the 80-20 rule, that's what happens. 20% of people will probably do the most of the work, but that's okay because we want to work in solidarity. It's all about excellence. It's all about our personal brand. So when you show up, you show up for yourself and the good that it will do for you and your career. And by doing that, it would also permeate across the continent. So I will go on to the fifth one. The fifth is tools and templates. And trust me, after this, I will share a document that would have all the working groups all reflected out there. Tools and templates. We've got different processes a DPO goes through. For example, DPIA, data protection impact assessment. What templates are out there? What templates are in use? We want to crowdsource this and see, could we come up with a standard to put it, or a standard template to put it in our resource bank? That is what the working group under tools and template will be doing. Now, as we go out the door, we're not going out the door seeking to reinvent the wheel. No. What we want to do is we want to go out there and collate all the goodness that is out there. Even within Africa alone, there are tons of associations, privacy related, that have done amazing work. Yes, I don't want to recreate that. I want to leverage what they have done. We want to pull it up together so that DPO African Network will be the one-stop shop for every DPO on the continent, and that is the goal. So that is for tools and template. The next I will talk about is engagement and outreach. Now, the working group we have here is the outreach strategy, where we want to identify, for a growth strategy. Today, we're just over 800 followers on LinkedIn. Across the continent, we can 10x that. So we need to start identifying who needs us and they're not aware of us as at today. We need to reach out to them and do those outreach. But more than that, outreach strategy is also a very strategic pillar, because one of my goals, or one of the goals of DPO African Network, is really the slogan of catch them young. We want to go into colleges. We want to build student clubs. So we would be reaching out to all of you. If you are currently a student, we want to help you build a privacy club in your college or university. We're targeting tertiary institution. If you know someone who is currently in tertiary university, and you know that this person has leadership ability and they would be a really good candidate to be a champion in a university, we want to start pulling these people in and telling others about the privacy profession, because it has come to stay and data is not going anywhere. We will continue to generate data. So we want to really raise an army of people who will learn these principles early and also be able to secure Africa's digital future. So that is our outreach strategy, really going out there to students. There's also going to be an arm that is going to practitioners, probably people in cybersecurity or in criminology. If they are not having fun doing what they're doing, we might give them an opportunity to experience a career in privacy. So that's another. And then we can also think about underrepresented regions. For example, we only have 17 countries represented in our volunteer database. We want 55. So outreach strategy might be, should we go after the underrepresented region? These are some of the things we will have conversations on in the working meeting. And so the last working group for Q2 is going to be event management. And for event management, we're not just going to run off and go work in silos and then reconvene at the end of Q2. No, we want to ensure that we're continuously meeting, we're engaging, we're sharing our findings. And so what the events team will do is to pick up our roadmap for the year, look at Q2 and say, what events should we have, and set a forcing function for those events. Put a date there. If it's a date for people, the team in the outreach to come share with us what they're finding, or the team doing tools and template, what have you gathered so far? Come do a demo for us. So we have that. Or the events team might reach out to experts to come speak, regulators to come tell us about their regulatory landscape. These are things we will fill up our calendars with and begin to actively drive that. The event team would also help us source speakers, moderators. Of course, a number of you have volunteered to be moderators. They would also be reaching out to you where there are events to also help moderate the event where need be. So those are the working groups. I wanted to get that out there because it makes sense for us to introduce ourselves, and I wanted us to, be all settled in. If anyone, because this is the working group. This is and I'm seeing that a number of people are also putting in the chat, which is great. So now this is an open mic session. Yes, we're recording it simply for those who are not able to join. Like I said, we only have 25% of people on the call. So I want to see the floor back. If you've got questions, let's ask those questions now, and then maybe at some point we'll get to introduce ourselves, and then we will take next actions. But I still have additional information to share. Anyone, any questions top of mind about the session, about your sentiments? Anyone wanting to come off mute? Okay. So if no one is speaking, we're getting into. Oh, good question. No, the DPO African network is not exclusively for DPOs. We have we want aspiring DPOs to be on here. We want practicing DPOs to be on here. We even want allies of data protection practitioners who are not in Africa but have got interest in the Africa data protection landscape, because I've also gotten that question as well. So our common theme and thread is data protection in Africa. To be a volunteer, no, you don't have to be. You can be a student and you're considering data protection, or you're not considering data protection, but you want to learn and immerse yourself with professional. It's a good place. That one
Oh,
has come mute. Bruce,
yes,
go ahead.
I'm Rusa. I'm from Namibia, and currently I'm in Hamburg, Germany.
Mhm.
But I'm a Namibian, and I'm doing works in Namibia in data protection. What I have seen with my country, Namibia is actually having a bill which is still sitting with the parliament in data protection, and probably it will be ready maybe late this year. And it's completely a copy of the GDPR Europe. I've seen the challenges of Namibia that it has as a country is actually that most citizens and even people in positions do not really understand data protection themselves, and these actually make it very difficult for them to implement because they do not understand. Or yeah, so meaning a lot of training need to take around the whole country to actually influence people in positions. I'm a certified GDPR, and I'm currently seeking for a job. Coming from a data science background, I realized I want to go in privacy and data protection. So this is the opportunity that I'm doing, and this is actually what drives me to get certified in data protection. But I've noticed that probably we can look at things like sometimes you read an article and you do not understand it, and you wish you have a network of fellow Africans or fellow people that you can actually discuss this and just try to find solution to this. So I just hope DPO Africa will actually maybe have an engagement platform whereby if we found a topic that is a little bit discussing, maybe on a Friday or once a month, we actually meet and try to sort out things that are actually not so clear to us. It's kind of like a platform like this, because these are some of the challenges, especially for people that are just coming in this career. There's no much guidance and everyone is just doing what they are doing, but they do not thoroughly understand.
I love your point totally. And that is why, when we talked about the Aspire, some people who are in the Accelerate cohort, 10 years in, they read this article, they understand it. But someone who is coming up is like, this is my biggest challenge. Yes, there are tons of materials out there, but I'm not making sense of it. Can we have these conversations? I know people who have come to me for coaching and say, hey, I've taken three privacy certification classes, but it still just doesn't add up to me. I don't know what to do when I show up first day if I eventually land that job. So this is what we want to do. And some of the things now, when it comes to research and content, we're not a content machine. No. What we want to do is to be able to test our content and be sure that this is practical. Someone is going to use it. We have a research methodology that we will be sharing. There's so much. In fact, I just don't want to release the fire hose. There's just so much. We have a research methodology called RAIN, where we research, we amplify, we put it out there, we implement, and then we also ensure that this is implemented. So that is something that we would really look at. So I said it's RAIN. So RAIN is RAIN, which is first R is research and collation. Remember, I said this is not about reinventing the wheel. We're going to research, we're going to collate what is out there. But then A is awareness. We're going to drive awareness. There's no point having, there are tons of associations that have incredible resources, but not so many people are even utilizing them. We're going to go get those things and drive awareness and education. The I in the A is implementation and operationalization. We want to implement these things. When we collect these resources, I'm now speaking to people that will be in the tools and templates. When we collect this, we have to find organizations and ask them to test it, especially if you're building out privacy or data protection practice in your organization. We want you to implement it and tell us, is this a bottleneck? What's the response people are giving, right? And so we will provide expert guidance on how to really adopt this. And the N in RAIN, RAIN, the N in RAIN is actual nurture and improve. So we're not just going to be a copycat. We're going to collate this through research. We will drive awareness. We will implement it. And in implementing it, I bet you will find gaps, because I always say we want to get to a place where we have square peg in a square hole. So those gaps, those edges, we will nurture and we will improve it. And so that is how we will be coming out with novel things that make sense to everybody, because if it doesn't make sense, what's the point? So thank you, Rusa, for mentioning that. There's just so much to unpack, especially with the RAIN methodology. I'm excited you mentioned that. Any other person, we want to hear from you. Rusa is not on in Namibia, but she's from Namibia and she's also interested in the work going on in Namibia. And she's mentioned a number of things. That's one note for the events group. How can we even come together every week? What interest are we going to see and keep this going? There's also a need for, where are the opportunities? Where is it being advertised? How can we collate these things and share within the network? So those are interesting areas we would take a look at. Who else wants to come off mute? Let's make this a conversation, because when we get into the working group, we will be having these conversations. I see you, Melissa. Melissa is going to be the head for research and content. So all the 5 working groups will roll up to her. she would, maybe appoint some leads under that so that it can be manageable piece of work. And if you are interested in leading a working group now or in the future, please indicate, and so that we can have that in the books and also make you lead a working group. Because remember, I said this is not just about being a member, but about being a leader in the network. Oh, Frank, I hear you. I know that's another thing. We also have to take a poll um, at some point to know if this time works for um, everyone. Does this time work? So let's see. Let me try and set the poll. Um, I'm just testing out this feature. Can you all see the poll? Did I do create poll? Let me know if you can see the poll in the chat.
Can see it.
Oh, you can see it. Awesome, awesome. Let's see. Does this time work for everyone? Let's see. What's your thought? Yes and no? Awesome. Okay. So a number of people are saying yes, so that's good. That's good. Okay. Okay, sounds good. No, I'm just asking generally because once we're done with this meeting, one of the things that I will do is send an email. In that email, you will get to know what working group you are in. And then secondly, we will be putting a time for you all to reconvene, and that will be next week. Fingers crossed for the 7 working groups. We want you all to have your first meeting next week so that you can start working. And because remember, I said this is a 10-week sprint. You can start working. We will be using the platform where you did your onboarding course, and the material for all the working group. I would upload it to the course so that you would also have all of this documentation in one place, and all of our communication will be there. But when we regroup, we'll have to show you the community platform we would use in having conversations. Any other thoughts? I know some people are at work, and that makes sense. Let's see. Okay, let me see. Yeah, I know it's the middle of the day for most people, and that makes sense. And so what will happen is, to a large extent, a lot of our work will be done asynchronously. And so what will happen is, once you've been assigned, I was scared that this was going to all drop off. So once you've been assigned a group, we will see those who are present. And some of the things we will do within the group is, we've identified the goals for each of the working groups. And so we will be going through all of those goals and outcomes. So it is well defined. We will get into those. Okay. Um, that's about the information that I have to share. It would make sense because I wanted to budget a lot of time in case people had questions. This is the first time we're meeting. Any questions that you may have, any thoughts, any ideas, if you cannot speak up, please put it in the chat and I will read it and address it so we have some time. Okay, I don't see anything coming through the chat. If you people some people are just joining. For those that are just joining, what we've said is from the 3 volunteer tracks that we have, we've created 7 working groups. Out of the 7 working groups, you will be assigned to one of them. And so that will be your primary working group. However, you are free to join any working group that is of interest to you. But your accountability lies within your primary working group. Secondly, this working group is expected to have deliverable for this quarter. And at the end of quarter 2, we will be creating a new working group or extending some existing working groups. So that is what we're going to be doing, and we will have one collaborative platform where we will have all of our communications. So that's a summary of it. Um, if anyone has a question, I know some people will still trickle in later on because we set this meeting for 90 minutes just in case there are tons of conversations back and forth because I didn't want to restrict the time. I needed people to really let me know, what they were thinking, where they were at, and that will help in reframing the strategy. So let's see. Anyone has thought? Are you just joining? Okay, I see the poll and the majority say this time of the meeting works well, which is great. For those that it doesn't work for, let me know what time might work for you in the chat so that we can factor that in. So we have 80% of people saying this time is great, and 20% say it is not so great for them. So let's know. We would also get some feedback on this platform. I see some people dropping off and coming back on. If we have some challenges with this platform, we might also explore other platforms. So that might be helpful to get all of those feedback. And always feel free to send us a message on info@dpoafrica.net. Yes. Yvonne is saying that, yeah, some days it might work, some days it might not. And that happens for everyone. I mean, life happens, sometimes. And that is why we will prioritize asynchronous work. I'm thinking so hard on the back end so that it's not just when we meet that work gets to happen. No, everyone understands the goal, the outcome, and now um, they can work at their own time to deliver to. We want this to be very inclusive, right? Some people do well working at night. Some people do well early hours. For example, I probably will not write a report in the afternoon or in the evening, but first thing in the morning, that is when my creative juice comes alive, right? While some people is like, they cannot even wake up without a cup of coffee. So everybody, it works differently for different people. So we'll see, um, we'll set the time, but we'll ensure that we have asynchronous work arrangement. Someone said share, remind us of the groups. Again, there are 7 working groups, and these 7 working groups is under our 3 volunteer tracks. And so at the high level, our volunteer tracks are research and content. The second is engagement and outreach. The third is event management. 3 working groups. Under research and content, which is the heart of what we are here to do, we have 5 working groups. These 5 working groups are: first, the Aspire working groups. These are people who are aspiring to become data protection officers, students. One of the goals of this particular working group is, what are the pain points? What have been their experiences? So we're going to be creating a survey and sending them out. So within this group, you would look through the survey, ensure that this survey is good enough. A number of you in this group will be in will be aspiring DPOs. So you would also be completing these surveys, but also extending these surveys to your community, to your friends, to complete the survey so that we can hear from them collectively, because we want our offerings to reach many people. However, you might have 10 years working experience and you have been assigned to the Aspire working group. Don't get offended with it. We want to ensure that we have a mix of voice in that place, especially when it comes to analyzing the results from that survey. So that is it. Yes, aspiring is number 1. Number 2 is the accelerate. Accelerate DPO. I like that. You're putting that in. Accelerate DPO. Accelerate is also going to have the same function with the aspiring, but the survey they will be generating in quarter 2 will be targeting practicing DPOs. And these practicing DPOs will be completing these surveys. We want to hear from them. We want to hear, what tools are they using? Are there any templates that they are aware of? We want them to be able to upload, give to us, because once we get insight from them, it will also help us in another working group I will soon mention. So keep that in mind. So that is the second one, accelerate. The third working group is the one that will be the most popular, which is the policy review working group. The policy review working group, the initial goal is to comb the continent and pull the data protection regulations across the continent. We want to be sure that we are collating the up-to-date one, and I have a source for it, which I will share with that working group to download it, put it in a shared folder, and we can now get into say, how do we want to compare these regulations with each other? So the third is the policy review. The fourth one is the internal privacy review. What that group will come in, and we will give to the group a policy statement, some of our tools that we're using for DPO Africa network, and ask them to review it. So they would almost be acting like a consultant coming to audit us or to review or do an assessment on us and identify gaps. This will be interesting because they can also demonstrate this within the whole cohort, and it will set a stage for us to be able to onboard outside engagement and also review as well. That is the fourth one. The fifth one is called tools and templates. Because we want to build a resource bank, we want this group will be going out there to collate um, tools, templates that is being used to operationalize data protection within an organization. And like I said, when I talked about accelerate, we will get insights from these surveys when practicing DPOs complete them. But they would not only rely on this survey input, they will go out there, go explore GDPR, go explore different countries and see what templates they have there. Trust me, it is out there. So bring it, distill it, and they will do that under different headings. Number one, say data mapping, what is being used? DPIA, impact assessment. What templates do we have out there? Which one do we like the most? We want to put in our resource bank. So that's what the tools and templates team will be doing. So at the end, they will be demoing to us some tools that they found, some templates that they found. For some of you, it might be new. For some people, it might be something you want to benchmark with what you have to adapt it as well. So that is all the working group we have under research and content. The sixth working group we have is under engagement, and that is called strategy outreach. We want to reach students. We can also call them aspiring DPOs who are not aware that we exist, who are not even aware of the data protection profession, privacy protection. We want to reach them. We want to establish student clubs in universities across Africa, higher learning environment across Africa. And this will be an inroad to partnering with colleges and universities so that we can go in there and start shaping young minds early. That is under strategy. We would also reach, when we come together under that working group, we could also look at professions, probably in cybersecurity or criminology. They might be in their field and not aware of privacy. This is an opportunity to reach that group. Another area that this strategy outreach might consider is underrepresented groups. I said at the beginning, we only have 17 countries represented in DPO Africa Network Volunteer Database. The other countries, what's going on there? We need representation there. Or countries that don't have this regulation already passed, they might not be thinking about data protection. We want to go in there and help them begin to think about this and start building forward thinking minds in those underrepresented countries. So that is under the strategy outreach. We will be discussing and also be coming up with a strategy roadmap on how to reach these group or a particular group we've identified to focus on. The last one, events. Rosa came up earlier on as she was talking about, having a session where we can actually come together to discuss a paper, discuss, a topical issue. The events working group will be taking the calendar for quarter 2 and be putting in there what events we should be having. Of course, taking a look at what these working groups are doing and say, on what week, what are we going to be discussing? Do we need an outside speaker? Do we need someone to moderate? They will be planning this. And so if they've scheduled it for your working group, it's going to be a forcing function to come tell us what you have discovered so that we just don't do research into the rabbit hole. We want to at some point come discuss, come share, and also continue to drive engagement. So the event working group will be the forcing function, even helping us in who should we be partnering with, who should we be discussing with, and who should we be pulling in. So setting up our calendars and tracking to ensure that we are reaching our goal for the year. remember during our inaugural meeting, we shared our roadmap for the year. So the events team will be double clicking to ensure, okay, for this particular month, this is the goal. What activities should we be having to align with those goals? So, yes, thanks for asking that question again. Any other thoughts, any other questions around how this will all work? Let's see in the chat because I know many of you are currently at work. So, and I thank you for taking the time to join. And so, please note that I will be sharing the documentation detailing what all the groups will be doing. So, you have your primary group, but you're free to join any other group. Any other thoughts? And that was why I didn't want us to do this in a webinar style so that we could all have conversation or have something in the chat. Let's see. Oh, the group has been chosen. Everyone has been assigned. You will get an email that shows where you have been assigned to. And that will be your primary assignment. So you've got to stick with your primary assignment, but if you have some bandwidth or interest, you can join um, any other group. Just you don't have to send me an email, but if you send me an email, then I'll keep an eye on you, knowing that this is your interest area and this is where you're going to join. I read everybody's interest statement for those who completed it. You might have seen me taking a peek at your LinkedIn page. I looked through that and I assigned people. So and I also try to ensure that we have a balance. So that is how we did the assignment. Could we have been perfect? Obviously, maybe. But of course, your interest area will also give us some signal. But we want you to stay with your primary group because everything we do is all collating together at the end of the day. It's all coming together. So, so you don't get to choose your primary group. It has been assigned to everyone and I will communicate it. And the reason why you don't get to choose is because we want a balance and distribution across all the groups. We're hoping that you'll be happy with your primary group, but if you're not happy, let me know as well. And let me know which areas um, you feel would have been more suitable to you. Send me an email. I like to no hard feelings. Just let me know because there are some of you. Oh my goodness, it was so hard to pick. You seem to be really versatile in different areas, but I just had to pick one area for you. So, and so for some people, I saw you had strength in this area, and I was like, let's throw this person into somewhere they might not be familiar and see. After all, it's just for a quarter, so we could also evolve that in the next quarter. But let me know your initial thoughts when you get that email. I'm waiting to read from you all. Oh, the email address to send is going to be info@dpoafrica.net. Let me check my spelling. Yes. And if you have any additional thoughts how this meeting is going, what you think, send it. You know, we're not at the 1,000 mark. The volunteering group is still about 100. So I can afford to read all the messages. And this is a time to help influence the direction we're taking. So if you've got lofty thoughts, we might not be able to adopt all of those, but we will keep it at the back of our minds as we read through this and we'll open it up for additional conversation. So those are some of the things that I want you to be aware of. Again, as we're starting, partnerships and sponsorship is critical for sustainability. So if you have those in your network, that is great. I want to leave this with you. Also, if you're working with one of the regulators, send me a message. I need a cohort of everyone working in the regulators because you are in an influence. It doesn't matter what role you play there, as long as you work with one of the regulators, let me know. And through the form that has been submitted, I could tease out those who work in one of the regulators, but send me a message because I will probably be pulling a group, maybe not quarter 2, but in quarter 3. Is it possible to prepare a plan of action for the next 6 months? Oh, yes. So, what we have currently, as a great question, is we have the roadmap for the year up to January of 2026, where we will do our annual meetup again. However, we have a detailed plan for the next quarter. So, um, so let me share this, and this is something that I would also share broadly. So this is, if you can see my screen, this is the onboarding plan. I have to clean this up. So this is where we are, countries represented, which is, if we'll go down a little bit, we have 17 countries and 107 volunteers as of today. The top 3 countries represented is Zimbabwe, Nigeria, Kenya, and these are all the 17 countries where we have representation in. So we want to grow this. As we go down, we have this is all that I've shared, why and how we assigned those. So this is what we've been talking about, the research and content, the event management, and the engagement and outreach. So we have accelerate, aspiring, internal privacy review, policy review, and templates. This is just arranged alphabetically. So this is the working group. When we go beyond that, we'll start seeing. So I wanted to just give an example of how it is broken. So we have the research and content. The goal is to produce actionable insight and resources to empower this. That is the goal for research and content. So this is the first working group, aspiring DPO working group. So this is the purpose: to unlock pathways for aspiring professionals to enter the field. And the task is to finalize or push survey targeting students, career pivoters, and early career professionals. What will be the outcome at the end of quarter 2? Analysis to shape mentorship program, training content, and career transition resources. And there are the timelines we have. These are proposed timelines. And I like to put an inspiration, because sometimes you might like, why am I in this group? Why have I been assigned this group? And so here I'm saying you're designing the roadmap for Africans' next generation of privacy leaders. And I hope it inspires you. You might be in that bucket, so you're also influencing that as well. So I'll just share the next one. So this is just a graphic too. So with Accelerate, like I mentioned, this is to amplify the expertise of active DPOs and address their challenges. So we want to also refine and push surveys to identify pain point tools and mentorship needs. The outcome from this group is insights to drive privacy advocacy, expert series, and peer mentorship series. So if we see there is a need in one area, we want to call experts or those who believe they've succeeded in navigating those challenges to come speak to us. And this is where the folks in the event working group will pick this up, schedule it, and drive this for us. The inspiration here is that your work bridges the gap between policy and practice, elevating Africa's DPO community. And so this document is something that I will clean up and share after the meeting, you see it's still the survey refine, we have data collection, and we have analysis and action. The same thing goes for the privacy review. So there's a purpose, there's a task that we have to do, and what outcome we have to do. So these are timelines. All the other ones as well have timelines. Oh, maybe I'll change the graphic to include timelines. Oh, it's there. So this is what we will be doing. So let me go back. I'm just hoping that uh, I answered that. So you have a copy to all to this in the course, and that's why I created a course. So when we have things, we keep uploading it there, and so it's a space that you can always have all the documents consolidated in. Asa, let me know if I answered your question, if there was something more you were looking for. We are always happy and open to learn. Is there a plan? This is Irene for capacity building. The reason I laugh is because I thought about this and I didn't follow through on it. Let me be very honest. I wanted us to have a capacity building before jumping into this. And now that you've asked the question, let me complete reading your questions. Is there a plan for capacity building for volunteers as they carry out their task? Many here are experts and could facilitate this. And yes, so thank you for putting the second part of your question. I thought about the capacity building, but on the flip side, I said to myself, before we get into capacity building, let's even uncover the pain points first of all. So the places where we might instantly need capacity building will be areas like the IPR, the internal privacy review. If you're thrown in there and you haven't done it before, what will happen is that you probably would learn from other team members. So there isn't any pressure here. You would learn, and I would also be guiding people across a number of these teams, even though you have the track leaders. So we would learn on the job, and then if we identify these needs, we would now be shaping the capacity building in terms of these needs. Yes, we will get to capacity building as we go along. So I'm glad you mentioned it. So I take another, I'll spend more time thinking about that and creating some session on that. If you have ideas on, your thoughts to refine it better, send an email as well. But yes, capacity building, that's the goal for all of the things that we're doing. And not all capacity building will be free. We'll have some free engagement, we'll have discounted engagement, we'll have some fully paid engagement because the platform has to be sustainable. So I just want to put that out there. Any other questions?
Yes, Amaka.
Sure.
I've seen you said one of the tasks maybe, or maybe it will come in the future, is to get engage with institutions,
Oh,
for
yes.
example, that could actually gain from our experts and skills. I
Mhm.
haven't seen that department in your map, or
Oh,
maybe something that will come up in the future.
no. That department, Rusa, is actually the IPR, the internal privacy review. So the
Okay.
first engagement is to review DPO Africa, and then we'll start from that. So when we get external engagement, it will go under the IPR for continuous review. And the individuals in this team will evolve over time. It's not the same set of people, but it will change. And if there are people interested, particularly in this area, for now is open. As we go along, we would have to create that particular working group. But everything is still to be determined. So those areas are interest. We want to start pulling those interest areas because the IPR team is for those who are assigned to that team and they do not have experience. It would be a good area for growth, and it will also help me to also shape what sort of capacity building to ensure that everybody in the volunteering group can play a role in the IPR working group at some point, because that is what you do on a day-to-day on the field. So yes, so that is there for quarter 2. And I can even check how many people have been assigned to IPR. IPR has, I called it IPM analyst or review, just has only 11 people in there because I wanted to keep it really close knit. But of course, we go by the 20% rule. You have 11 people, maybe 2 or 3 people will be very active, which is manageable. But if 11 people shows up, that's fun as well. Yes. Who else has something to say? And it doesn't have to be a question. It can just be your sentiments. You could share them in the chat. Let us know. What are your thoughts? And this is just us having a very relaxed session. We haven't gotten into, picking this regulation and teasing and tearing them apart and really looking through it. That is a place I can't wait to get to. Because I teach the China regulations and European regulations. We should do a really good job with African regulations as well. So if you have a connection with an institution, a college or university, that is one area I have got a keen interest in. So please, your university you graduated with, you have a younger sibling, you have kiddos in a university, someone you know who might be interested in shaping a club. We want to get this. In fact, the first thing um, the engagement strategy is doing is to get a list of all colleges in Africa. If anyone has a resource to all colleges in Africa or all universities in Africa, any sort of list or a list in your country, please pass our way. Very, very helpful. And not all colleges have online presence. So you can imagine the uphill battle we are up against. So please help us. I just knocked off and oh no. Uh, sure. I don't know where you got, but this is being recorded. I will try to share this, but I don't know where did you drop off from? I could recap from there. Are you going to share the list of team members in each group? Tawanda, good question. The list of team members in each group. I don't know. My plan was to let me tell you my plan. My plan is to do an initial email BCCing the volunteers in each group. And so we'll evolve from there. And this is, if you're in IPR for this email, I want you to be asking us those questions. Why are we doing this? Is there excessive, things like that? What exposures? Because this is just practical. What's the implication of this, right? And so it's easy to preach privacy and like I just walk into a building and I tell you guys all the things you need to do, but in practice now you need to learn that when it comes to privacy, there's a balancing act. Businesses need to function, so you cannot overly choke it down their truth. The mindset is, how are we minimizing the risk, but we are maximizing the benefits that we can do. So all of this concept, we'll get to all of that. But that was a tricky question you asked me. I'm glad I'm still wearing my practitioner hat. I just realized the meeting is being recorded. I'll watch. Oh yes, Princess, it's being recorded. Yes. Even is smiling like I get it. So yeah, so I don't know, but yeah. And so it also tells you the complexity that privacy brings. Sometimes we talk about convenience versus privacy, all of these things. we get to walk through it and ask ourselves, is there a better way to innovate on this? What could we do better? You know, so and so there might be an argument, why do BCC when you pulled everybody in to do a meeting like this where we could see all the participants on screen? Those are good arguments we should be asking. And who says we shouldn't be having those arguments? We should be having them. So interesting conversations ahead. Any other thoughts before we start to wrap up here? Oh, please, yes. Janice, if there are existing clubs, yes, as long as they can affiliate with us, that is awesome. Please. Because sometimes we have existing clubs that are only focused narrowly in their country. What we're doing is looking across Africa, but that's not even the goal. There is nothing that stops us. We want to first look into Africa and elevate our stand. And the way that I teach privacy is looking at the global standard and saying, this is what we have. This is what makes sense. This is what doesn't make sense. Because I can compare what's happening in Europe, in the US, and in China, like even in Asia, and say, okay, these are some of the good things we should pick. Because, like Carissa said, a lot of these things were copied from GDPR, not necessarily a bad thing, is a starting point. But are there other interesting things we can learn from different regions and infuse as we begin to refine our regulations? That's the kind of place I want to get to. So yes, if you know any existing club, if they can affiliate with us, let's pull them in. Let's have conversations with them. So please send them our way. You know the email address to send these things to. So let me info at dpoafrica.net. Any other thoughts or questions? Let me be sure that I haven't missed any questions. Yes, Janice, please email me, reach out to me. Let's have these conversations. Okay, I think okay, so, oh yeah, someone is sending in something. Oh yes, and yeah, look for the email. Hopefully it leaves today. We're on different time zones, so give me bear with me, but it will get out there. Yeah. Sure. And then in that email, you'll see the follow-up meeting. We will have the sessions. And that's why I'm using this platform, because we can get to record it, and I would see if you all will have access to these recordings. And just because of the different times people joined, we had to repeat some of the things multiple times, but you'd actually get the gist of it. What might also be helpful is the document that I will send detailing all the working groups. If you have any questions, please send my way. I've got the time. Next month, I'll probably be traveling for a number of trainings and I wouldn't be stationed. But right now, you've got questions, sent to me. I have that time between now and the end of the month. So please. Okay. Um, That being said, let's see. Okay. Let's see if we can take another poll here. Very simple poll. We want to get a pulse on if you're excited. So let me see. Let me try and make this anonymous, right? Um, create poll and let's see. Excited. Yes, no. So now I shouldn't say who's posting. So let's know. Let's see if there is another question I have just sent you. Oh yes, I will get to it, Miriam. I will get to it. Let's see. I think this poll takes a while to pop up. Okay. Okay. Do you see the poll? Send me a message. I need to calibrate on that. I need to, oh, you see it. Okay, gotcha. Oh, it's like it takes a while to populate. And now I put it anonymous, so I don't even know. Yeah, because I see the result of the first. I don't see the result of the second. Awesome. If there are no questions, we will pull this to an end. You get to read from us shortly, and we will get into the working group. And I'm really excited and looking forward to working with each and every one of you across all the working groups. Remember, if you would like to lead a working group, we have the track leaders, but if you would like to lead a working group, let me know even before you see your primary um your primary working group that you're assigned to. Just let me know, either for now or in the future. Just let me know. It will be helpful. Okay, that being said, oh, for some reason I don't see the results of this poll. It might mean two things. Maybe no one responded, um or it's just a glitch in the back end. Oh, do you see the result yourself, or is it just me not seeing it? Oh, I don't see it. So tell me, what's the result? I don't see the result. Maybe I'm not doing something right. Huh. Oh, great, great, great. So just for those who will be watching the recording, just to let you all know, information getting to me says everyone who responded to the poll said they are excited. So thank you, everyone. So this is exciting. Yeah, I need to figure out why this isn't working as said. Okay, that being said, I will stop recording. If anyone wants to hang out for the next 15 minutes off the record, that would be something I should start doing off the record once we're done with a meeting. And so anyone that wants to have a conversation can. And with that being said, for now, bye and see you all in your working group. So I will stop recording. If you want to hang out a little longer, that is fine.